boots ready, we're about to go on a trip where we wrestle, nobody settling or calling it quits. You're here for the grit, betcha this stuff is amazing. You're stumbling, welcome to the bump in the apron. Step into it, the hardest part of the ring. Here to bring fun, yeah, in this art he is king. It's the best thing, making sure you don't tap out. Don't go soft with the hardest podcast out. And it's not just another one, it's clear. Off the rest, in this content, none contest. Take the nonsense off the steps. You know it's nothing but pure gems when it's coming off the chest. Get it? Now, it's time to sit and relax. Get your mind blown away, ain't no skipping this track. Have you paying more attention, no listening gap. Get everything I ever wanted, no giving it back, yeah.
It's the hardest, talk around, don't disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can hide it. Let's get started. It's the hardest, talk around, don't disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can hide this. Let's get started. It's the hardest, talk around, don't disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can hide this. Let's get started. It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you the hardest. Standing strong and proud, nothing can hide this. Let's get started.
Yeah.
It's the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can hide this. Let's get it started. It's the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can hide this. Let's get it started.
Yeah, get your boots ready, we're about to go on a trip where we wrestle, nobody settling or calling it quits. You're here for the grit, betcha this stuff is amazing. You're stumbling, welcome to the bump in the apron. Step into it, the hardest part of the ring. Here to bring fun, yeah, in this art he is king. It's the best thing, making sure you don't tap out. Don't go soft with the hardest podcast out. And it's not just another one, it's clear. Off the rest, in this content, none contest. Take the nonsense off the steps. You know it's nothing but pure gems when it's coming off the chest. Get it? Now, it's time to sit and relax. Get your mind blown away, ain't no skipping this track. Have you paying more attention, no listening gap. Get everything I ever wanted, no giving it back, yeah.
It's the hardest, talk around, don't disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can hide this. Let's get started. It's the hardest, talk around, don't disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can hide this. Let's get started. It's the hardest, talk around, don't disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can hide this. Let's get started. It's the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can hide this. Let's get started.
Yeah.
It's the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can hide this. Let's get it started. It's the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can hide this. Let's get it started.
Yeah, get your boots ready, we're about to go on a trip where we wrestle, nobody settling or calling it quits. You're here for the grit, betcha this stuff is amazing. You're stumbling, welcome to the bump in the apron. Step into it, the hardest part of the ring. Here to bring fun, yeah, in this art he is king. It's the best thing, making sure you don't tap out. Don't go soft with the hardest podcast out. And it's not just another one, it's clear. Off the rest, in this content, none contest. Take the nonsense off the steps. You know it's nothing but pure gems when it's coming off the chest. Get it? Now, it's time to sit and relax. Get your mind blown away, ain't no skipping this track. Have you paying more attention, no listening gap. Get everything I ever wanted, no giving it back, yeah.
It's the hardest, Talk around, don't disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get started, it's the hardest. Talk around, don't disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock this. Let's get started, it's the hardest. Talk around, don't disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock this. Let's get started, it's the hardest. Talk around, don't disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock this. Let's get started.
Started. Yeah.
Howdy, folks. What's happening, peoples? Hell yeah, baby. I'm also excited to talk about some 1995. What year are we in? 1995 wrestling. Hooey, it's gonna be a fun time. Yeah, we're gonna do a little retrospective. Let me make sure all my levels are right. Is the music too loud? Am I blasting? Can you even hear it? I don't know. I don't want you to just hear my voice and my cats licking their asshole in the background because, right on cue. Fuck, he's just rubbing not rubbing my asshole. Anyways, so yeah, 1995. What a year of wrestling, huh? Nothing but hits, right? Shit. Yeah, it's been a good one, man. Now, if you're not familiar, anybody listening, anybody watching, I do a little podcast action. If you can't tell by the old T-shirt, the Apron Bump podcast. Check it out if you haven't already. But the reason I bring it up is because I've covered every pay-per-view from 1995 in great detail. It has been a journey. It's been something, man. Let me tell you. It's been a road full of shards of glass, gonorrhea, and your mom's tits. But it's been something. It's always a good time talking about it because it's such an interesting year. It's not good. It's not a good year. There are some good stuff. There's some stuff that I think is a little underrated, but for the most part, yeah, it's definitely a not even a rebuilding year. It's like a fucking. It's like Hiroshima just hit, and we're just trying to survive. So I don't know, but we're gonna reminisce today because a lot of these shows, man. I mean, I've covered them all, but some of them I haven't even thought about in like a year or so. So probably more than that for some of these. So we'll get to it. But let me pull up. I may something you guys might not know about me is I love Microsoft Excel. It is one of my favorite things. I have a spreadsheet for everything, and that includes this. So let me pull this deal up here. This is god damn. Am I a fucking ghost? This white ass screen making me all washed out. Let's see here. Whoosh. Oh, that's Twitter. That's not what I want. Good thing I didn't have my porn tabs up. Here it is. We got a little scoreboard action here, so I will say first of all, okay, Dwayne, you're fucking knocking over my lamp. I'm about to lock you out. He gets upset when I talk to the mic. It's like he needs to help me. It's like he thinks I'm in peril when my voice goes into this microphone. But so yeah, the first thing we're gonna do is a tier list, which I've created of all 30 shows that occurred from WWF, WCW, and ECW in the year of 1995. And that'll, what we'll do, we'll take an average. We'll see who did the best, had the best grade on average. Because, I think ECW had by far the most shows. I could be wrong on that, though. So we'll take an average, but we'll see who had the best pay-per-view. We'll see who had the worst pay-per-view. So, for example, and these are the amount of points here. You see column D for dud, which is this year of wrestling. So let's say like ECW got the best overall average grade. Which, by the way, I've done my best not to think about any of this because I want to like go through the thought process as I'm live here. But so say ECW, we go through the tier list and they had the best average, which I have another fucking spreadsheet to calculate that. But we hit enter. Oh look, they got 4 points. Look at you, ECW. Look at you, Axel Rotten. You're doing great things. But let's say maybe they had the best average, but maybe WCW Uncensored was the best pay-per-view. Spoiler alert, it isn't. So yeah, we'll give it to WCW. They had the best pay-per-view. They get 2 points. But let's say, I don't know, ECW, yeah, they had the best average, but maybe one of their shows was the absolute worst of the year. They get negative 1 point. And we'll keep tallying that through all the various criteria that I've come up with. So, and there's just an example, by the way. Don't know if that's actually the truth there. It could be. But after the tier list, kind of reconvene here, and because at that point we would have looked at all the pay-per-views and thought about them all, taught maybe, quick little notes about what happened there. So we'll basically have a good snapshot of what the year was, and then we could really come up with what company had the best in-ring product in 1995. This is obviously, the athleticism, the technical aspect of it, but also, I mean, all in all, the ability to make the crowd care about what's going on in the ring. Now, that's always my impression of what is a good in-ring, because that's so subjective. But I think ultimately the ability to have matches that people are not sitting on their hands or throwing trash into the ring. That is what I would say is good. But yeah, so we'll do that. And again, it's company. Each company will win a certain best overall over the course of the year. Whoever had the best match will get 2 points, and whoever had the worst match will get negative 1 point. And I should say this is mainly looking at the pay-per-views and the special events. Not so much TV, although that will be a consideration, because Nitro, I mean, they started very late in the year. I think it's September, August, somewhere in there. So they only had a brief chunk of the year where they were having, I mean, I know they had Saturday night and main event or whatever the hell. They had stupid ass shows. It didn't mean anything. Raw was just still kind of we're in a squash match period. And ECW, they have a few live events, but nothing really of note. So, but yeah, so best match, worst match, and then roster, star power. We'll kind of look at the roster and who they have on the roster, each company. Who was the best? Who was the best wrestler of the year? Who was the worst? And again, best overall gets 4. Whoever has the best wrestler gets 2. Worst, negative 1. And same deal for characters, promos, storylines. So this is all the out of ring stuff, but also just the general, again, storylines. Pretty self-explanatory. So it's hey, is Dungeon of Doom the best? Well, WCW would get 2 points. Best character, worst character, and just the company with the best promos, characters, storylines overall will get 4 points. And just a general excitement, and we're not this doesn't take into account the future years, right? We're not thinking about the because NWO doesn't start until mid 96, so that hasn't happened yet. But I want to kind of put myself in the shoes of somebody who's in 1995, who just finished out this year, and what would my excitement be going into the next year? Oh man, this company's putting on some good shit. I can't wait to tune in on January 1st or whatever the hell, So that'll be an extra 2 points, and then the winner will well, they won't get anything because ultimately WWF won. We know that, but for this year. They'll get I don't know, a trophy, a picture of my asshole, something. Or maybe something in between. But with that, I think we might as well start out with the old tier list, huh? So let's see if old man hardest part of the ring knows how to use this here. Let me pull it up on my little gimmick here. Scoodly doodly doo. Boom! God damn, that finally, it's a black background so I don't look like a goddamn Seamus here. Tier lists. So you've all seen tier lists, right? Grades from S, A, B, C, D, F. Obviously, the best being up top, the worst being at the bottom. And, yeah, I'll probably have to Google some of these cards because, again, like I said, I haven't, like, thought about a lot of these shows in over a year. Especially, like, the ECW shows. They kind of blur together a little bit, but, yeah, man. Let's see. Can I zoom in a little more? Oh, yeah. That's the stuff right there. So I guess they're not in order. They're roughly-ish in order for the most part. Like uncensored in the beginning. I don't know. The file names were in order. I don't know. But this doesn't really matter. But I'll try to go roughly in order here. My cat fucking scratching against the couch. I never know if it's a cat in the background or if it's a burglar about to murder me. It's one of the two. One of these days it's going to be a murderer. But imagine if I was live on stream. Gosh. Golly gee, that would get me some subs, right? Yeah, let's start ranking these bad boys. Let's start with Royal Rumble. I don't know if that's the very first one. I know that's in the beginning, January. It starts the road for this year, huh? Road to 1990, road to Starrcade, huh? Just the last one. Who? I have a feeling the bottom, 3 are going to be full. Royal Rumble, look, you have Brett and Diesel. Great match. Probably one... You could argue that was the best match WWF put out in the entire year, and that was the very first pay-per-view. The Rumble match itself was weird. It was 40-second intervals. It just went by in a half hour. You have what was the stupid team? It was Heat, Hot and Spice, not Hot and Spicy, Meat and Sizzle. Somebody knows. I can't think of any of their names. There were some jobber tag team, but it's a microcosm of what this match was. It was just jobber after jobber, and then Shawn wins. But what else is on this card? Let's pull this bad boy up. Buck Quartermain. Oh, it's a dark match. It's why is Buck Quartermain here? Razor and Jarrett was good. This was a much better version of their WrestleMania match here. Undertaker versus IRS. Yikes. This tag match. I remember this tag match being very long for no reason. But let me plug my vibrator in real quick. Hold on. That's the finale of this show. Yeah, not a great show, man. Other than Diesel and Bret Hart. I think Diesel and Bret Hart bumps it up a bit. I might throw this... See? I'll throw a C at it. Because honestly, the Bret Diesel match was the majority of the show, it felt like. And some of the stuff wasn't that bad, so... Jarrett and Razor was pretty good. Yeah, I think C is fair. What was the first ECW show? Double Tables, I believe. So Double Tables, I think, was the second ever Extreme Championship Wrestling program after November to Remember 94. I ain't got a clue what was it. Was this the I think this is the weird Cactus Jack Sandman match. Let's see here. Double Tables. Hack Myers started off hot. The Shah. He's going to be on most of these ECW cards, thankfully. Oh, the beginning of the rotten rivalry. Just a regular old wrestling match. Tully Blanchard versus Shane Douglas. Ew. This Al Snow versus Benoit match was low-key awesome. I remember this. I still remember this match. This is one of the best ECW matches I've seen throughout the year. Throughout that year of 95. It's random as hell, but I loved it. I don't think Al Snow ever came back after that. Well, at least until the head thing, but I don't think he had any other 95 shows. Public Enemy versus Sabu and the Taz Maniac. So this is pre-Taz. Yeah, this Texas Death Match was fucking awful. Sandman was just man. Look, I know he's always drunk when he wrestles, but he was particularly gone. I'll just say that. He was, yeah, it was not good. But yeah, this is a pretty bad show. Looking at, I'm trying to think of anything. This Stevie Richards Tommy Dreamer match might have been good. Double tables. I'm gonna give this one a It seems harsh to give an F, but like, it's Gil, the Al Snow and Benoit match, and I think this match is pretty good too. Stevie and Tommy, and Hack Myers is on it. I'll give it a D. I mean, I said the best match ECW put on was on this show, so I can't give it the worst grade, I guess. So it is what it is. I'll give her a D. I had, you know what? I might pull up. I have a list somewhere of all of the shows in order. I'm gonna pull this up on the old second monitor. Right here. Here we go. Boom. So we got this. I'll mark this green. All right. Super Brawl. WCW Super Brawl is next. Here we go. Where the fuck are you? Super Brawl, Super Brawl. Here we go. I don't know why it's not in order. What happened at Super Brawl? I don't have a fucking clue, to be honest. Was there like a triangle match, I feel like? I'm telling you, man, I don't remember. WCW is another one that kind of like blurs together. It's just a bunch of Hogan and Renegade and yeah, no, I agree, Matt. There's a lot. If there's a year where you're gonna have a lot of Fs, it's gonna be this one. Let's look at the old Super Brawl card. Jim Duggan. All right. Just kidding. I think Hogan versus Vader. I don't remember this. I remember their Bash at the Beach match. Avalanche, Big Bubba Rogers. We're fresh off of Randy Savage's debut. Blacktop Bully. Ew. Kevin Sullivan versus Dave Sullivan. Oh, yuck. This match, I remember being annoyed with this Paul Roma and Alex Wright match. Particularly because of Paul Roma. I think he no-sold the finish or something done like that. Oh, this is an awful show. This is a truly bad show. Ugh. There's just no heat to any of this, man. Just, yeah, this one. You know what? I'm gonna keep it at F. Fuck it. What we got next? ECW, Return of the Funker, 1995. Where are you? Here we go. Was Terry Funk even on this show? Probably not. Oh, this is the... Yeah, I remembered right before I saw it. This is a weird... DC Drake in the main event. Quick, everybody, name your favorite DC Drake match. There was a deal at the end where there was like a box, like a big ass box, like WrestleMania, the one where like Bray Wyatt came out of. But this was just like a shitty like 2x4 made box, and then Terry Funk came in at the end, and so I don't think he had a match, but he did make an appearance. Barbed wire baseball bat, more rotten action. Hector versus Too Cold Scorpio. I don't remember that being good. More Heckmeyers, of course. You got the Pit Bulls and the squash. This Marty Jannetty and Shane Douglas match was actually pretty good. I remember this. Probably the best Shane Douglas match of 1995, I would have to say. Marty Jannetty was good, man. He was good. He wasn't Shawn Michaels, but he was good. Yeah, I've seen worse cards. DC Drake in the main event just makes me laugh. Paul Lauria. I forgot about this guy. He kind of faded away, huh? I'm debating between D and C. The main of it's just because like right, Dean Malenko and Benoit versus Sabu and Taz. That was probably decent. And the baseball bat match was silly, but like it worked for what they were trying to do. And this Hector and Scorpio match is probably fine. I'm gonna throw a C at it, I think. Yeah, I'll throw her a C. What we got next? What we got next, folks? Oh, yuck. WCW Uncensored 1995. It's getting an F. I'm telling you right now, it's getting an F. I'm not even gonna look at the card. Do you see this motherfucker? Oh, do you see his whiskers? Dwayne! Now's not the time. I know you didn't like WCW Uncensored either. I get it. You want me to get it off the screen? It's off. I gave it an F. But yeah, Uncensored is that was the King of the Road match where Blacktop Bully and Dustin Rhodes just butt fucked in a bale of hay for 20 minutes. No titles were on the line because it was like an unsanctioned show. You had more just lifeless matches with like Avalanche and Boss Man, and terrible show. Maybe the worst show of the year, to be honest. That's a no-brainer. If there's any show that gets an F, it's Uncensored. WCW not starting off hot. Oh man. The F's just keep on coming because you know what's next, folks. WrestleMania 11. The granddaddy of them all. To me, it's a tie between Uncensored and WrestleMania for the worst show of the year. There might be some ECW shows that are bad. I just probably forget. But these are the two that come to mind. WrestleMania 11. Just for the expectation of it, because WrestleMania is already a big deal at this point. It's a brand in itself, and it's just like it wasn't at Madison Square Garden. It was in like some weird Connecticut arena. The main event was great. The main event was probably the match of the night, and it was a celebrity match. If that tells you anything. Diesel and Shawn was decent. It had like a botched finish, though, and a couple other weird botches throughout the match. But man, Bret Hart versus Bob Backlund in an I Quit match. You have Roddy Piper as the ref. What do you say? Every headlock, every wrist lock, every Irish whip, he's asking everybody if they want to quit. It's relentless. Taker versus King Kong Bundy. What else? There was like the worst version of Razor versus Jarrett. Probably some other undercard matches that didn't mean anything. Yeah, this gets an F for sure. Another no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. Let me make sure I'm still up here. Okay. What's after that? ECW three-way dance. So I assume there is a three-way on this show. But it's ECW again. You never know with these folks. Three-way dance. Johnny Hotbody. That's how you start him. That's how you start a show strong. Tommy versus Raven. Probably decent. Most of the stuff they did was pretty good. Definitely a shining light in ACW in 95. Ron Simmons versus Mikey Whipwreck. Hair versus hair match between Ian Rotten and Axel Rotten, because we both know that both these gentlemen are known for their delicious locks. I think Ian lost and he got like an inch cut off of his hair. It's like, okay, cool. Or he got like a mohawk or something. It made him look better, whatever it was. Scorpio versus Eddie Guerrero. That was good from what I remember. Moorhack Myers. I hope he beat Dino Sandoff. Shane Douglas versus the Sandman. Is this the one where woman turns on Sandman? I don't know. Sandman and Shane Douglas never had a good match, so I can't. That is a negative on this card. We got Benoit and Dean Malenko versus Rick Steiner, Taz versus the Public Enemy. I remember this match being okay for what it was. Seeing Rick Steiner and Taz break everybody's neck around them, and although I think they were eliminated early in this match, but they also had like a segment earlier in the show that was cool. So with that, and Too Cold versus Eddie and Tommy versus Raven. Again, I've seen worse ECW cards. Three-way dance right here. Definitely better than double tables. It's probably a C. It's between C and B. This is the first time I've ever considered giving a B. If I was grading on a scale, it'd probably be, up here somewhere, but we're not, so I'm going to give it a C. Very bottom-heavy, this list so far. Very bottom-heavy. To the surprise of no one. Hostile City Showdown. I think this is the month where ECW had, like, a show every other week. Hostile City Showdown. And again, I couldn't even tell you what's on. Sandman, probably. My cat ran off, so it makes me suspicious. What we got? Subo Genjin, the legend. Another barbed wire baseball bat, for the love of fuck. I feel like, am I getting deja vu? I feel like we've already seen all of this. Eddie versus Dean. I think, you know what, though? If I remember correctly, I think this is one of those matches where it was just like a highlight reel. Eddie versus Dean Malenko. It's like the one, the one thing that I was interested in. Not like a highlight reel, but there were cuts in it. And it's like, okay, we're going to do that. But Shane Douglas versus Sandman again. Yeah, we're going to watch every second of that. More Public Enemy and Pitbulls. Every Public Enemy match is just like, look, they have zero value. I've said this on my podcast. They have zero value outside of their entrance. So, and a lot of times, you can't find a version with the original audio, so we'll listen to this garbage Peacock remix. And it's like, wow, these guys are terrible. Now I just gotta watch them wrestle. And the Pitbulls, I mean, God. 911 versus Ron Simmons. I remember, this was a match I actually was excited about. It was just like two beefy men slapping meat. But this was definitely like they cut to the match and it was the very end of it. It was like 10 seconds, literally. So that doesn't even, why. Maybe it was a terrible match. But that's never stopped them before for showing stuff. And then Cactus Jack versus Terry Funk. I don't remember this match specifically. But, like, context clues. Like, what, we're going to see, like, a lucha, chain wrestling, high flying. Like, no, it's Cactus Jack versus Terry Funk. And it's not memorable to me, so it obviously didn't leave a mark on me, good or bad. And, you know, the repetitive of this, I don't want to necessarily take that into account because I'm trying to look at every pay-per-view as a standalone thing. Tommy versus Raven, just decent. Hostile City Showdown, right? Probably a C, because it's pretty much probably the same exact card on most as at least one of these. Right. After that, we got ECW Enter the Sandman. Let's see here. What do we got? How much overlap are we going to see on this one? Enter the Sandman. It's a Metallica remix. More Heck Myers, of course. You know, I was joking at the beginning of him being on every card, but Bob's your uncle, he is. Another barbed wire baseball. No, it's a barbed wire baseball bat, barbed wire chair match between the Rotten brothers. More Subo Genjin. Thank God. Whipwreck and Dreamer, Raven Richards, another Dean and Eddie match. Okay. Sandman versus Cactus Jack. I remember this being better than their previous match, but still not great. But okay. I think this Eddie and Marty Jannetty match was a dark match, if I remember correctly, so I don't really know about that one. More, like, what Sandman versus Cactus Jack for the title, and then later in the show, Sandman versus Shane Douglas. Like, what are we doing here? And then a double dog collar match. Stupid. It's more garbage. Yeah, dude. Eddie and Dean helps this, I will say. Eddie Guerrero versus Dean Malenko saves this from being the worst. The Rottens love a good barbed wire tear in their flesh. They can't get enough of it. Fuck, I don't know. What show is this? Enter the Sandman. I guess C. I guess. It's pretty on par with all of these, I feel like. Alright. Take a break from ECW, for the love of cock. WWF In Your House 1. The debut of the In Your House series that would become so prevalent in the company. Hakushi versus Brett. I don't even know. I don't know why I pulled up the card. I kind of remember. It was a short show, so it's not like a lot to remember. Hakushi versus Brett was awesome. Jarrett and Rhodey versus Razor. Is this where Savio Vega made his debut? That's something, right? This was a squash match. Mabel versus Adam Bomb. This tag match put me to sleep, I remember. Bret Hart versus Jerry Lawler. It's like, I guess it's not nowhere near as good as his first match. Diesel versus Sid was garbage. Yeah, this one's Hakushi and Brett. You gotta remember, like, this is a shorter show, so each match, I feel like, has more of a say in how good the show is, as far as I see. This is what? Yeah, this one. The question is it better or worse than the Royal Rumble, or the same? I feel like it's not as good as the Royal Rumble. I'm gonna throw a D at this one. Not a lot to it. Yeah, Hakushi Brett, I mean, for sure. Definitely in WWF, at least. Definitely a standout match. But the rest of the card, I feel like, was just nothing to it, man. All right. We'll get what's next. Dwayne! Oh, no! Please, be professional. You're supposed to be my, That was almost vomit. Slamboree. WCW Slamboree was a show that happened, wasn't it? As far as I remember. Slamboree. A Legends Reunion. The man with no name versus Kevin Sullivan. That's Brutus Beefcake, right? Wahoo McDaniel versus Dick Murdoch. Dirty Dick. It's exactly what you expect this match would be. I remember liking Harlem Heat versus Nasty Boys. Muda versus Orndorff. For some reason, I don't think I liked this. This might have been like another over-the-top rope finish or something. Arn Anderson versus Alex Wright was okay, but not as good as I thought it would be. Road Warrior versus Meng, I think, was like a 45-second DQ finish. Sting versus Bubba Rogers was just two guys taking a nap in the middle of the ring. And then Hogan and Macho Man versus... with the Renegades here. Thank goodness. Versus Flair and Vader. Yeah, this was a bad show. This was not a good show. Yikes. For some reason, I remember thinking Slamboree was pretty good. I distinctly remember, like, Slamboree was at least a lot better than, like, Uncensored and Super Brawl. Maybe Arn and Alex Wright was better than I remember. The tag match was good. I don't know, maybe Sting and Boss Man was fine. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to throw a C at it. I'll throw a C at Slamboree. Because I think the card doesn't do it justice. Because I do distinctly remember being like, wow, that was actually... I remember looking at the card before I watched it. I was like, oh, cock meat sandwich. This is going to be awful. But I remember being surprised by it. So I'm going to give it a C. Just for exceeding expectations. ECW. Barbed wire. Hoodies. And choke slams. This is, was this the barbed wire match? Probably, because it's in the title. I gotta type this whole goddamn title. Hoodies, choke slams, card. The Vampire Warrior! Gangrel making his debut in ECW. I think it's his debut, right? It's the first time I ever saw him here. Jim Steele, a.k.a. the ripoff of Ultimate Warrior, versus 911. Luna Vachon versus Beulah McGillicuddy. All right. Got some Luna Vachon. Not a bad thing. Yeah, this barbed wire match kind of sucked a bag of dicks. It was just brutality for the sake of brutality. Like, there was no drama. There was no stakes. It felt like it was just mindless. Well, now I'm in the barbed wire. Now you're in the barbed wire. Like, whatever. Vampire Warrior. Like, this stuff was kind of whatever. The New Jersey Devil. This is like two mascots wrestling, I think. You know, for some reason, I feel like this was decent. Taz and Too Cold Scorpio versus Raven and the Pitbulls. The question is, does it... For some reason, I feel like it was better than Double Tables. I guess it would be on par with the other ones. I suppose. Maybe it's being generous, but I'm a generous boy, so... Dwayne is watching intently as I go through this, by the way. WCW Great American Bash. Got that right here. This was Flair and Macho Man, I believe, in the main event, which was fine. It's good. The Blue Bloods, hell yeah. Sting versus Ming. It's fine. Duggan versus Sergeant Craig Pittman. Two of the just absolute most worthless wrestlers. Flying Brian Pillman versus Alex Wright. This is a contender for match of the year for WCW. I should probably like writing these down, but whatever. So Savage versus Flair was fine. You have the whole storyline with Angelo Poffo, the Macho Man's dad. Nasty Boys versus Blue Bloods. Nasty Boys are fun. The Renegade beats Arn Anderson. Okay, that's a negative. This Harlem Heat match, this Harlem Heat Stud Stable match was dog shit. There's a lot of terrible and a lot of pretty good on this show. Yeah, a classic. I've taken dumps that were classics too, so. On that note, Great American Bash. Again, considering giving this a B, but with every great thing, there was a really, really bad thing. So, I think C is fair. I would say C is fair. King of the Ring, 1995. Yikers. I don't even know if I need to pull this card up. This is Taker and Mabel. I particularly remember watching this show and being like, this is tough to get through. Like, it wasn't a particularly long show, but every minute felt like an hour watching. Wasn't it, it was like a tag match was the main event, right? Yeah, it's what's pictured here. It was Diesel and Bam Bam versus Sid and Tatanka. So the title's not even on the line. There might have been some bullshit with Razor and Jarrett and Savio Vega and yeah, it was a dreadful show. Mabel and Savio Vega in the finals. I want to look this card up just to see if there is anything redeemable about it. Was Bret Hart on this show? Bret Hart versus the Kiss My Foot match. Yeah, this Shawn versus Kama. This might have been the match of the night. But yeah, another dreadful show. Sucker. Yeah, not good. Hardcore Heaven. ECW. More ECW. Again, I'm telling you, man, these ECW shows, it's one smear of shit. Hack Myers and Big Mally. They, on one of the later shows, they literally, like, replayed this. It's like, oh god, that Hack Myers Big Val Puccio match. That was some spicy hot fire. Let's reward the fans and give them another bite at this apple. Well, that apple gave me diarrhea. That's what I gotta say about that. Yeah, the worst King of the... I can't think of a King of the Ring that would even be close to as bad. 94 might have been as bad just because of Art Donovan, but match quality-wise, yeah, 95 is the shits. But Hardcore Heaven here. Is this the debut of the Gangstas? I believe it is. Another Sandman versus Cactus Jack match, because why not? The Taipei Death Match. If you're not aware, this is the one where they lay super glued shards of glass to their wrist tape and just absolutely tore each other to shit. I think this Raven and Stevie Richards versus Luna and Tommy Dreamer match was decent. Or like there was a segment afterwards that was fun. This might have been the one where they each got hit with a chair, Luna and Tommy, and Taz versus Too Cold Scorpio I think was good. He's Taz now, so that's a plus. Not the Tasmanian Devil or whatever the hell. The debut of the Dudleys as well. Okay. No Bubba yet. No Dances with. No Signed Guy. He might have been in the crowd, but he's not listed here. This is before Big Dick's unfortunate mishap with his like garbage truck or whatever the story was. He like ran his own leg over with a garbage truck. I don't know if that's at all true, but it's canon in my mind, so I'm going to keep it there. So yeah, this is a pretty decent show. I can't remember if the Sandman versus Cactus Jack match was good, but again, it's got to be better than their first match at Double Tables. So I don't think this is B territory, because this main event was probably not that great. But the Taipei Death match, I mean, that was legendary. You know what, ma'am? I'm looking at this chunk right here of these three matches. You got Taz versus Too Cold. You got a hot storyline here with the Ravens Flock and Tommy Dreamer. You got Luna Vachon. That was good. And then the Taipei Death match, love it or hate it, it was legendary. Do I throw a B at this? I don't think ECW is going to get a lot of Bs. So, what was this? Hardcore Heaven? Is that too generous? Is the question. As I drink from the wrong hole. It's common practice in my life. Fuck yeah, I'll give it a B. I might regret it later. Just love that Taipei Death match, man. Just love seeing people get ripped apart with shards of glass. I'm marked for it, and they knew it. All right, we got our first B on the board, folks. Now we're cooking with gas. ECW Heatwave 1995. I remember this show being a very yeah, this is a show that happened. This is the cage match, I think, right? With Tommy and Earl's Luna and Stevie Richards. Yep. Oh, it's 2 cage matches. Oh, lucky us. This cage match with the Gangstas and Public Enemy was absolute diarrhea in my mouth. It was not good. Stevie versus Luna, I think that was less of a match and more about the post-match thing with Raven and Stevie Richards. The thumbnail of this video is actually from this. It's a kind of a legendary moment where Raven's I don't know if he's handcuffed or he's tied to the cage, in the old cross deal, and then Tommy just absolutely annihilates him with a steel chair. So another legendary moment here. And again, more Hack Myers and Val Puccio, because we didn't get enough the first time. Storm and Mike Norman. I'll tell you how you know a guy really made it in the business. He doesn't even have a profile on Cage Match. Can't even click on his name. You gotta look him up. Eddie and Taz versus Dean and Scorpio. Okay, I hear you. This Axel Rotten versus Sandman match was not good. I actually remember being excited about this because over the course of the Rotten storyline, I'd kind of gotten an investment in the Rottens. Axel Rotten specifically, he had the charisma of the two. So I was like, oh man, he's got a title shot against Sandman. Let's see what happens. And it was just plotting. I already cleared it, Nick. Don't you worry. Yeah. I also didn't want all my pegging videos to pop up on the screen, so you gotta get behind the paywall for that. But what do we think about this show? I'm not thinking it's good. It's definitely not a B. It's definitely not a B. The Dudleys and Raven, the Pitbull, it's just a bunch of... Just a... You know when you, like, use a bidet and then you look in the toilet? Like, that's what this show was. It wasn't a healthy, fluffy piece of feces. It was just shards of blood and semen. So, what show is Heat Wave? Might throw a D at this one, I'm gonna be honest. Nothing particularly like I said, that segment with Raven and Tommy in the cage was fun, but otherwise, yeah, just a bunch of nonsense. Bash at the Beach, 1995. Oh no, I've been typing. I could just copy this. So, of course, if you're not aware, this is the show where WCW went to the beach. So they plopped a ring literally in the sand. Like, there were matches, I think the Paul Orndorff and Renegade match. There was a point where Orndorff was like on the outside and he just grabbed like a handful of sand and like threw it in Renegade's face. Fuck him. Ugh, the fucking Kamala versus Jim Duggan. Take a flaming bag of cocks and just shove it in my ass. This was nothing. Oh my. That's a contender for worst of the year. DDP versus Dave Sullivan. It's not even cool DDP. It's stupid ass cigar in the mouth, shiny jacket DDP. It was a very bad show. It was a cool. It was a fun atmosphere, though. You know, it was a unique thing they did. Flair versus Randy Savage is probably decent. Hogan Vader is kind of what you expect. The triple threat tag team match, which is hilarious because it's so clear that they've never done a triple threat tag team match. I don't even think they really did a lot of triple threat matches in general in 95. So this was just a chaotic mess. Nobody knew what to do because the precedent of triple threat matches hadn't been established at this point. So Sting versus Ming, whatever. Yeah, it was a pretty bad show. It's a pretty bad show. I think that's fair. D. Do I give it a C just because of how unique it is? No, I don't. Because ultimately the beach thing, there's a reason why I don't think they ever did it before. I could be wrong on that, but not very conducive for an exciting wrestling show, I would say. Yeah. And that's what I think about that. In Your House 2. The Lumberjacks. Another In Your House show brought to you by the World Wrestling Federation. Another Sid and Diesel match on this one, right? Just men on the mission. We're still doing that at this point, huh? Bam Bam Bigelow versus Hog. Gotta love some Hog. I mean, this is another match. This is another show where I was like, this is a absolute chore to watch. The Allied Powers. Yikers. Oh, shit on my dick. This is Jarrett versus Shawn Michaels. This is Jeff Jarrett's best match he ever had in his career. Absolutely. This is a great match. Great match. Another contender for match of the year. But up top, you got Diesel versus Sid. So, like, you know. Rhodey versus 1-2-3 Kid, I remember actually was pretty good. The finish was a second rope pile driver from Road Dogg, which is like, what? In the new generation? I didn't think this was Wednesday on TNT or TBS or wherever the dick. Yeah, this is a pretty bad show. The Jarrett and Shawn Michaels, man. Another occurrence where it's like it saves it to an extent. But man, everything else was just tragic. But Jarrett versus Rhodey, or Jarrett versus Shawn might be enough. On top of Rhodey versus X-Pac. And Diesel versus Sid, like Sid is just, anything he does just turns to shit. But it might have been entertaining because it was a lumberjack match. Yeah, maybe that helps it. I don't know. I think it's as good as Royal Rumble. We'll throw a C at it. Because I'm a nice guy. SummerSlam 1995. It's your favorite show, Nick. SummerSlam. I think I remember the card, but let's just look it up just to make sure I don't miss anything. I remember the show being decent. You know, it wasn't great. But in the context of 1995, not the worst for sure. Diesel versus Mabel. Okay, not a good way to start looking at this. Okay, you got the ladder match. Ladder match 2 between Shawn and Razor. That's fine. Kane versus Bret Hart was fine. Definitely Isaac Yankum's best match. Easy. The casket match between Undertaker and Kama was fine for what it was. It was a blow off to a feud that has been lasting literally the entire year. So if anything else, it puts a bullet in that, which is a positive. Hakushi versus 1-2-3 Kid was great. Bob Holly versus Triple H was decent. The Blue Twins are here. Right? Who's with me? Barry Horowitz versus Skip. I remember this getting way, like, so much time, so much, like, spotlight on this. It's like, what do we see in any of these guys? I know Barry Horowitz is his whole deal. To me, he was never, like, frumpy enough to be, like, a lovable loser. You know what I mean? Like, he was, like, he just looked like another wrestler. I don't know. He looked like he was in just as good of shape as Skip was. And Skip's whole character was how much he works out. It's like, I don't know what we're doing here. And then we got Alundra Blaze versus Bertha Faye, which was good. Everything Alundra Blaze did in 1995 was at least good. It's weird that they never, you know, I guess it's where society was. You know, we don't care about women's wrestling. But man, Medusa, whenever she had time to shine, she took advantage of it. So yeah, this is a fine show. Diesel, Razor, or Shawn and Razor, legendary. Even Diesel and Mabel was like, you know, I don't remember that match being particularly long. So, you know, they made the most out of it. Hakushi versus Kid. This is a pretty good show, man. Pretty good show. I think it's as good as Hardcore Heaven, I would say. I think SummerSlam 95 deserves a B. Sure, why not? We'll give it to the old, what was the tagline? It's so hot, it's scary. I think that was 94. Whatever. ECW Gangsta's Paradise. Some more great stuff from Mustafa and New Jack. You love to see it. You love to see it. Bull Pain. We're my Bull Pain fans in the chat. Dudley's got Dances with and Dudley. No Bubba yet though. It doesn't really take off until Bubba gets there. More Hack Myers, of course. Okay. Has anybody... Have we had an ECW show without Hack Myers? God. Raven and Stevie Richards versus the Pitbulls. I remember that being pretty good. Double dog collar match. Taz and the Steiner brothers versus the Eliminators and Jason. Okay. Psychosis versus Rey Mysterio, man. I mean, a steel cage 6-man. I think this is after the other show they had a cage match, right? Where they had 2 cage matches. So it's like, I don't even remember. Nothing really sticks out, but I don't remember it being terrible. There's some good stuff on this show, I think. I'm looking at this chunk right here. I think it's as good as Hardcore Heaven, dude. Psychosis and Ray is a big check mark here. And that double dog collar match, yeah, I agree, it was good. If there was like a C+, I think this would go there. I'm gonna give it a B though. I'm gonna give it a B. Fall Brawl, 1995. So this is obviously the War Games. This is the Dungeon of Doom versus the Hulkamaniacs or whatever the hell. Cobra versus... where Cobra comes out. By the way, these are both like, army guys, I think. I think that was the branch they were trying to represent. Cobra comes out. The G.I. Joe dildo. He's in the ring. He's looking at the stage. And then Sergeant Craig Pittman rappels from the ceiling. And remember, this is War Games, so there's 2 rings. So Sergeant Craig Pittman rappels down into the back ring. Cobra's in the other ring. Sergeant Craig Pittman army crawls under the ropes and then sneak attacks Cobra. This is fucking... Like, why is so much spectacle being given to this shit? I don't know, man. I couldn't tell you. Arn Anderson versus Ric Flair. It's good. It was good. Not great, but good. And you got your War Games match, man. It is what it is. You know what you're getting into with that. Stud Stable versus Harlem Heat was not good. I think the Nasty Boys came out and one of them took their boot off and hit them. It was just a bunch of Renegade versus DDP. Yuck. Johnny B. Bad versus Pillman. I think this is the one that was like a time-minute draw, like a 30-minute time-minute draw. It was unnecessarily long. That being said, it's probably still the highlight of this show. Well, Arn Anderson versus Flair. This is not a good show. This is not a good show. But the rappelling from the ceiling might bump it up a little bit. C or D for sure. Do I give it a pity C? Not Pity City. That's the Nasty Boys gimmick. I think it's as good as Slamboree and Great American Bash, probably. So whatever. What we got next? In Your House 3. WWF. In Your House 3. I don't remember this being good. I'm going to say that right now. I remember this being a abomination. Hog versus Sid. Waylon Mercy. Yikes. It's like he just came out of a wheelchair and tried to wrestle a match. That dude was in no shape to be wrestling. Bam Bam versus Bulldog. Just tedious. Dean Douglas versus Razor Ramon wasn't good. Nothing Dean Douglas did in this in the WWF was good. Two dudes, and then the main event. We got John Pierre Lafitte versus Bret Hart. Was good. Not great, but a lot better than the rest of the show. Although the main event was kind of okay, but so you have all the titles on the line, right? Which, by the way, that leaves the rest of the card to have no titles on the line. So you got no stakes or anything in the rest of the show. On top of just the fucking terrible in-ring work. And you got, so Camp Cornette, Bulldog. Wait, no. And it's just more convoluted because Owen Hart and Yokozuna are the tag team champions. But Owen Hart, isn't there. They don't say why. But Owen Hart's not there, so he can't defend the title in the main event. So Gorilla Monsoon's like, hey, Yoko, Jim Cornette, you go find a partner, and then they'll be the tag team champion for the night. So they get British Bulldog. So it's British Bulldog and Yokozuna versus the two dudes with attitudes, Diesel and Shawn Michaels. And what happens here? I think, Owen Hart interferes in the end of the match. And then, somebody, I think, Diesel pins Owen Hart. But because Gorilla sanctioned Bulldog as the tag team champion for the night, them pinning Owen, they didn't pin the tag team champion. So they won the titles on this show, but they had to, give them right back on. It was just nonsense. Yeah, this is a dreadful... Just a wet fart of a show, if I had to describe it. At least a D. Maybe an F. I don't know. You know what? It gets an F. It gets a fucking F. Just nothing redeemable about it outside of the Pirate versus Bret. The storyline that was premised on a guy stealing a guy's jacket was the spotlight of this show. Bret Hart can really make chicken salad, can't he? I think In Your House 4 is next, right? Yeah. Radford, okay. This is the debut of Goldust. And a lackluster debut at that. Because Marty Jannetty, I was just talking about how he had a good match with Shane Douglas in ECW, but it was not a good match here. A very watered down version of Goldust. He wouldn't really figure himself out until, the upcoming months. Fatu versus Triple H was very good. A very good match, actually. This tag team title match was weird because, the Smoking Guns are babyface. And Razor and Kid are babyface, but Kid's, starting to turn heel. And the crowd loves Razor, but hates the Smoking Guns. So it was just a weird energy in this match, and it was it was fine, but it I don't know. Didn't really tickle my pickle. Yokozuna versus Mabel. Need I say more? It's worse than you thought because they beat the shit out of each other. It's a double count out, and then they hug after. I don't know. This is the one where this is where Shawn. Okay, so this is after Shawn gets buggered by 9 sailors, and then gets a concussion or whatever, and has to relinquish the Intercontinental title. So Shawn has to relinquish it to Dean Douglas. So Dean Douglas is champion for, 15, 20 minutes. And then gets beat by Razor Ramon, who takes Shawn's place in this match. And this match was absolutely the shits. It was just plotting. It was bad. So was Diesel and Bulldog. Just Bulldog holding on to a leg lock onto Diesel for goddamn an hour. Yeah, this was a fucking Rikishi versus Triple H was by far the spotlight. It has to get an F. I'm sorry, this is just another swing and a miss. Man, WWF is doing way worse than I thought they would do. I'm gonna be honest. Yikes. Halloween Havoc. Monster trucks. Everybody loves monster trucks. So of course, we got all right, come on. Like the main event, or not the main event, I guess. Wait. Yeah. Yeah, because Hogan, I don't think it's listed on here. But Hogan and the Giant, a.k.a. the Big Show, they have a monster truck battle on top of Cobo Hall, which is a big building, I guess, in Minneapolis, I think, or something like that. It was just... It was like morbidly entertaining because it was just so stupid, but it was, again, it was like two trucks. Hogan, by the way, Hogan and Giant weren't even driving the trucks. They showed the guy that was driving, and I forget what their like reasoning was. It was like on commentary they were saying like, oh, one guy is just kind of running it, but Hogan and Giant, well, they control the other engine, and it was a sumo match. It's not even like you got pushed the other guy off the building, which would have been cool. But the Giant gets thrown off the building anyways, but then recovers, and there's a really flaky main event where this is the one where Yeti comes, right, and butt fucks Hogan. Him and Giant, rotisserie chicken Hogan at end the show. It's like a DQ finish. Giant walks out with the belt, but he's not champion, but also they strip Hogan of the title. It was just convoluted. Speaking of convoluted, so is this Ric Flair and Sting versus Horseman match. So remember, we're still, Anderson and Flair are feuding. But guess what, folks? It's all a ruse. Because really, they're just doing it to get at Sting, which, because in this match, Ric Flair and Sting, they're teaming, but lo and behold, Flair turns on Sting. It's like, why go through the whole rigmarole of them being a team? Why not just get with Arn Anderson and Brian Pillman and attack Sting? Like, what are we... I don't know. Luger versus Ming. Yuck. Sabu versus Jerry Lynn. Sounds like it should be awesome. It wasn't. I think the Sheik was out there. He threw a fireball at JL after the match. Road Warrior Hawk versus Kurosawa. I think it was actually pretty decent, surprisingly. But not enough to save this show. Randy Savage versus the Zodiac. DDP versus Johnny B. Bad was probably fine, but man... Halloween Havoc, 1995. It's pretty bad. I don't think it's an F. I wouldn't say F. I might say D, though. Yeah. I think that's fair. Yeah. Yeah, bud. Yeah, that gets a D. Which is surprising. I expected that to be the worst, but it wasn't, I don't think. Not even close. ECW, November to Remember, 1995. I remember this being good. I remember this being a pretty good show. So we have this Cactus Jack and Raven versus Terry Funk and Tommy Dreamer main eventing. What was good on this show? Okay, you got a Mexican death match between Psychosis and Rey Mysterio. Great. Bubba Ray Dudley's here. Great. Eliminators versus Pitbulls. Okay. Public Enemy versus Sandman and Too Cold Scorpio. Steve Austin's here. Mikey versus Mikey Whipwreck. I think this is the one where Mikey retains, obviously. Steve Austin was never the ECW champion. Sabu versus Hack Myers. So we got a Hack in the co-main, which is a positive, right? Man, this is a pretty big card. It feels like like double the size of all the other cards. You got Bill Alfonso and Todd Gordon just molesting each other here with Beulah as the special guest referee. This Mexican death match was good. Although there was a point where Rey Mysterio, I don't think, understand the concept, so he didn't get up at 10 at one point. But they were like, "Oh no, you're up." He wasn't. A lot of stuff happening on this show. I'm telling you, man, Hack is on the move. That's gotta be a major plus for the show. I think it's definitely at least as good as Gangster's Paradise. Not better. It's not an A show. Come on, it's not an A show. It's close. Yeah. Most of it, I mean, again, probably if there was a B+ option, maybe I'd put it there, but there's not, so go fuck yourself. What we got here? Survivor Series, 1995. The best WWF show of the year, by far. I don't even have to look at the card. I remember this card was by far the best WWF show of the year. Diesel versus Bret Hart in the main event. Great stuff. All the elimination matches had their appeal, they were entertaining in their own ways. So, even this jobber 8-man match, it was fun. Everyone's getting their shit in. The women's match was fun. You had a lot of Joshi wrestlers in that. This is where Undertaker returns from getting his orbital bone shattered. So he comes back with the mask. This is where he debuts it. And the heel team is just petrified of him. I loved how that all played out. Undertaker basically dominated. And then this last one is pretty good, too, with all the other main event guys. And again, Diesel versus Bret Hart was good. Question is it A-worthy, though? Is it A-worthy? That is the question. I'm trying to think of what's stopping me from giving it an A. Because ultimately there's not a lot of stakes in this show, unfortunately. This Gold Dust match was not good either, but from top to bottom, outside of the Gold Dust Bam Bam match, every match was at least good. With a great main event. Now the question is how much better than SummerSlam was it? I don't know if it was that much better. So I think I might leave it at B here. But still a contender for a show of the year, as of right now. All right, I think we're down. I don't think I need to keep looking. We got World War III. Yeah. I don't know. World War III. don't remember loving this show. Obviously, you have the World War III match, the 3-ring battle royal with, what was it, 60 people? I think 20 people on each ring started it. The taped fist match. Suck me off with your taped fist match. What's up, Fretzy boy? Yeah, I agree. Not good. Not good. Yeah, the Sting versus Flair match was just another, like, a template match for these two. Sasaki and Benoit was fun. Another Joshi match. I guess they're all making their tour of the U.S. at this time period. It was good. Very good, actually. Bubba Rogers versus Jim Duggan. You can shove that right up your pee hole. DDP versus Johnny B. Bad. God, how many times did they face each other? And then the Battle Royal was it was just, they didn't figure it out. Maybe they did eventually, but in 1995, they did not have it figured out. To be fair, it's the first time they ever did it. It was a unique concept, I guess, but man, looking at this card, the Japanese elements of it, I think are the highlights. The TV title match might have been decent too. Johnny B. Bad versus DDP. C? I would say C. It's at least as good as Fall Brawl, I think. I think that's fair. In Your House 5 is next on the docket. What happened on this show? Oh, this is the Great Diesel or Bret Hart and Bulldog match. This match is fucking awesome. Yeah, the Bret Diesel or I wanted Diesel in the main event apparently. Bret and Bulldog, there was like blood involved. It was great. And coming off that Bulldog Diesel match, I didn't think Bulldog still had it in him at this point, but apparently he did. Another casket match with Undertaker, this time against Mabel, was fine for what it was. Owen versus Diesel, this is kind of a squash. Diesel just kind of has this new attitude about him. So, Ahmed Johnson's debut here, Buddy Landell. This opening match ate a dick. Marty and Razor versus Sid and Kid. That Bret and Bulldog match, I agree. Yeah, it's a match of the year contender for sure. I don't know. I think he still was on crack. I just think he learned how to handle it. Bulldog, that is. The Hog Pen match, of course. Legendary. I think it gets way too much heat. Is this B-worthy, though? No. Again, it would probably get a C+. I don't know, man. Bret and Bulldog was so good, though. And I liked the Hog Pen match. Ahmed Johnson. He was wet, right? So, Mabel getting put in a big ass casket. I'm gonna give it a B. I'm gonna go ahead and give her a B. I thought it was solid. I thought it was pretty solid. Starrcade, 1995. Just covered this one pretty recently. But I'll pull up the card just in case I forget anything. So this is the one. This is the World Cup of Wrestling. So it's WCW versus New Japan. Which sounds great. It was kind of lackluster, to be honest. There was some good stuff. Liger and Benoit. It's awesome. I mean, of course. Other than that, man. I mean, Eddie versus Otani, I think, was okay. Luger and Chono was like 30 seconds. Chono just got eviscerated. Alex Wright versus Kanemoto was fine. And then you have the whole schmaz with the triangle match. The winner faces Randy Savage in the main event. But you have like Randy and Sting already fought earlier in the show. It's like, why didn't Flair? And none of it was just like, this wasn't a good match. Macho Man versus Ric Flair at that point, after that night that had happened, was not a good match. Just another, the Horsemen interfere and Flair wins. It's like, again, just very cookie cutter. It's the show's good for what it was. It was a showcase. What's the word? It was almost like not canon. I mean, it was canon, but like, I don't know. Probably a C. Yeah. Not bad. Not terrible. Some parts of it were. But overall, I think it was C-worthy. And that leaves us Holiday Hell. What the hell happened? I feel like I just watched this. I don't even remember. What's, This is ours, Mr. Fretz, right? I think this is the one we covered. Cactus Jack versus Sabu in the main. Of course. Bubba Ray Dudley on the show. Again, always a plus. JT Smith versus Hack Myers. Why not? Sandman versus Raven. I think this was decent. Just another Gangsta's Public Enemy match. Just for the Olympic rules. That's right, Frets. I forgot. Cactus Jack versus Sabu. Olympic rules. So no, it wasn't. But it was. Joey Styles on commentary was pretending like it was. It was like during the whole deal where Cactus is like trying to get away from the whole hardcore deal, and he just wants to wrestle Sabu, and that's not what happens. Pitbulls versus Eliminators. You got a couple squash matches from Dreamer. Taking out Raven's Flock. Dreamer versus Raven, I remember liking. Bruiser Mastino, a.k.a. Mantar, squashes El Puerto Riqueño, and then 911 comes out and destroys Mantar, so... I gotta sneeze. You got Blue Meanie versus Bubba Ray Dudley. Let's give myself a headache with that sneeze. Tag team title. One tag team title and the TV title on the line here. Mikey Whipwreck and Scorpio. It's a decent show. There's definitely worse. Probably C, I guess. I would say C. Well, that's our list, folks. Shocker, no S's or A's. But a lot of C's and D's and F's. So, but that's just one piece of the puzzle, ladies and gentlemen. That is just one piece of my asshole. So let's, how are we going to do this? So I'm going to move, here, we're going to do this. Boom. So now we got our scoreboard back up. I'm going to move this gimmick over here. All right, we're still looking at this. Got so many windows open. So, tier list. We're gonna average out the scores that everybody received on the tier list. And I'm just gonna count them, and then I'll explain it. So how many B's? So nobody got S's or A's. ECW got 3 B's. WCW had 0. WWF had 3. Right? Yeah. C's. So WWF had 1, 2, just 2. 2 C's. WCW had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 C's. ECW had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. Right? Yeah. Shit. D's. WWF had 1. WCW had 2. ECW had 2. F's. WWF had 4. WCW had 2, and ECW did not have any F's. So ECW is pretty consistent here. So what do we got here? First of all, let me make sure. What's the sum here? 30. Okay, so I got them all. So we got our count here, which is what I just did. I literally just looked at the list and counted how many got each grade. And this sums it up. So basically, if you get an S, that's 6 points. If you get an A, that's 5 points, and so on, down to F, which is 1 point. So this is the cumulative amount of points each company got. So WWF got 24, WCW got 21, ECW got 34. But remember, there's a different quantity of shows per company. Like ECW had 11, WCW had 9, WWF had 10. They're actually kind of closer than I thought they would be. So now we take the average grade here, which looks like ECW wins. And of course, you know, average, I just take the sum divided by the amount of, right? Yeah, the sum. You know how averages work. But they're actually pretty close, man. Take these. Oh. Pretty decently close. ECW got a, I guess that would be a C, right? WCW, I guess a B minus, and WWF with a B. WCW with a D minus, WWF with a D, ECW with a C minus, I guess. So pretty close, but ECW gets the dub from a tier list perspective. But like I said, that's only one element of it. Got dried cum in my throat. So ECW wins this. So they get 4 points. So now the question is, what was the best pay-per-view and what was the worst pay-per-view? So if we bring this up again, make sure, I think I like took it away from the, there we go. Boom. Boom. There we go. So what was the best pay-per-view of the year? It's a great question. It's a great question. It's like looking into, it's like, what was your favorite circumcision? They were all awful. All 4 of them. So, Hardcore Heaven, SummerSlam, Gangsta's Paradise, November to Remember, Survivor Series, In Your House 5. This goddamn espresso's chalking me up in my throat. Might say Survivor Series, man. I don't think any of the ECWs would be the show of the year. They were good for what they were, but I wouldn't put them above Survivor Series, I don't think. And I definitely think I'd put Survivor Series over In Your House 5. SummerSlam. So it's between SummerSlam, I guess it's WWF either way, right? I'm going to say Survivor Series. I think Survivor Series was the best. So I'm going to mark it on my scoreboard here. I'll show it here in a second. So WWF gets the best pay-per-view, so they get 2 points. It's worst. In Your House 4, King of the Ring. Yeah, those are 2 contenders. WrestleMania 11 is I almost want to say that just because it's WrestleMania, and it was just, it's like expectation versus what you get, and I think that had the worst ratio in that respect. But man, these WCW shows were fucking. I don't think it's In Your House 4. Uncensored had a few entertaining moments, but conceptually was just stupid. Super Brawl was just a nothing show. Man, this is tough. So I don't think it's uncensored, surprisingly. That was a high contender in my mind before going into this. Super Brawl. I don't remember Super Brawl being like I remember hating Uncensored more than Super Brawl. So I don't think it's Super Brawl either. So again, I think it's WWF. The In Your Houses. I would say WrestleMania 11. It was just the celebrity appearances. You had the kid from Home Improvement. You had the Latino guy from The Longest Yard. Oh, that's the only thing I know him from. I forget what his name is. WrestleMania 11, man. That gets the dupe from me, brother. Let me pull a scoreboard back up here. So, best pay-per-view. What do we say? Survivor Series. Worst. WrestleMania. WWF. So they had the best pay-per-view and the worst. WWF. Yeah, no, that's very true, Matt. That's because they're definitely like trying to find themselves, I guess. Trying to find that attitude, huh? But yeah, so it kind of levels them out. But ECW's still in the lead here. So the rest isn't really the tier list. Not based on it, but kinda, because we just, it is what it's based on, actually. I don't know what I'm talking about. In ring. So which company had the best in ring? I don't think it's WWF. WCW was starting to dip their toes into the cruiserweight stuff with Nitro, which is something that the tier list didn't encapsulate. So you got to take that into account. But also, the cruiserweights in WCW were plucked right from ECW, so ECW had the same stuff at different times. So, but there's just so much garbage in ECW, man. Can't say that was the best in ring. I don't think ECW is it either. It might be WCW, man. Actually, no, is it WWF? Because you had a lot of good Bret Hart stuff. Bret and Bulldog. You got Diesel and Bret. Shawn and Razor at SummerSlam. You got some of the tag teams. The tag team stuff was decent. You know what? Actually, it might be WWF. Even some of the stuff on Raw, you had like random, like it'd be like Owen Hart versus Shawn Michaels, and they were still pretty squash matchy on Raw, but they were starting to get away from it a little bit. I might go WWF on this one, actually. Could always change my mind, but oops. So that gives them 4 points. Best match. Probably WWF too, right? I mean, It's probably correlates. Like, what was the best ECW match? Al Snow and Benoit was good. Some of the stuff like Taz did was pretty good, but I wouldn't put it match of the year quality. Yeah, I don't think it's anything from ECW. WCW. Alex Wright versus Brian Pillman from Great American Bash. That's one that sticks out to me, for sure. But I don't think it, because it was like at the end of the day, it was an opening match with two undercard guys. So while the technical element of it was good, not a ton of heat to it, unfortunately. The monster truck battle was great. I guess Brett Hakushi, man, too. It's probably gonna be a WWF answer, unless anybody else can persuade me. I must say, you know what? I think Brett and Diesel from Royal Rumble. I think that was better than their Survivor Series match, but their Survivor Series match is very good. Brett and Bulldog is also a contender. And the Brett and Bulldog match did have a definitive finish, whereas the Royal Rumble match did not. So, you know what? Fuck it. I mean, it's WWF either way, so. What was that? In Your House 5? Go ahead and shrink you like my penis. And WWF. All right, look at that. Look at that. Worst match. Oof. God. Suck me off. I'm going to look at my tier list here. Hogan comes to mind. I mean, it's like there's like some like Avalanche versus Sting matches that were just snooze fests. I really hated that I Quit match from WrestleMania. Brett versus Bob Backlund. I'm looking at like the F's here. But Halloween Havoc. I'm trying to, because there were some bad matches. I feel like if it's bad and insignificant, it's not worst of the year. It has to be bad and significant and long too. That's another thing. Like if it's a terrible match but it's short, it's like okay, it's quick and painless. Sid versus Diesel was bad. The World War III match, ooh. Well, plus with the fucky finish too. That might be it. Although some of the Ian Rotten, Axel Rotten matches were also very bad. A Royal Rumble match from '95, another contender. Just looking at all the shows here, man. Any Public Enemy match is always in the hunt for worst match of the year. That was that strap match. I think that was uncensored, right? Between Hogan and Vader, but Hogan like took the strap off of Vader and put it on Ric Flair, and then he won the match attached to Ric Flair. Like it was just the King of the Road match too. Ooh. But that was kind of a fun gimmick. I'm very torn. Here's what's on my mind here for worst match. The King of the Road match from WCW Uncensored between Dustin Rhodes and Blacktop Bully. Any Diesel versus Sid match. Maybe Mabel versus Savio Vega. probably up there as well. The World War III match. I might have to go World War III, just because of that was also. I mean, it was. I almost want to cut them some slack because it's the first time they did it, and it was an interesting gimmick. Hogan versus Giant at Halloween Havoc. That was actually very bad too. Damn, there's just not a lot of good wrestling, and I'm not really breaking any ground here by saying that, but see, I don't think Mabel versus Diesel was the worst of the year. It was bad. Very bad. Probably bottom 10. I don't think it was number 1 as the worst. I'm going to say World War III was just so bad, dude. It was everything about it was bad. The finish was bad. It made the whole other, like, the whole rest of the show suffer because everybody else either didn't have a match or had to, like, hold off. Again, I can be persuaded. So, anyone in the chat, if you have any other candidates, can I not type WCW? I think it's WCW either way. Because, I mean, the World War III, Hogan, Giant, Vader, Hogan, any of their various matches, King of the Road. I just realized I listed off a bunch of WCW matches. There were some pretty bad WWF ones, but I don't think anyone tops those. In terms of, the quality, like the technical quality of it, the length of it, like did it drag on? And the significance of it, like was it a big stage and did they bungle it, kind of thing. So all those in mind, I think World War III, especially because the pay-per-view is called World War III. What's going on here? There we go. The pay-per-view is called War. It was all built into this, and it was just awful. So, yeah, exactly. So roster. Star power. So we're looking at who these companies have. Purely like, it's like, oh, I'm gonna go see this. I'm gonna go see this company. Who do I get to see? Like, how excited am I? How excited am I gonna be to go to a WCW show and see who they have on their roster? Or how likely am I gonna be to tune in to see who's on their roster? WWF I feel like did not have a good roster. Because they have Diesel, Shawn, Razor, who else? Undertaker, Brett. Like, you have those 5 guys. You have some undercard guys that are pretty good too. But ultimately, like, I don't know. WCW had big names. They had Hogan, Macho Man, Sting, Flair. And then you got younger guys, especially with like the cruiserweights coming up. Benoit's, your Eddies. Dean Malenko. You got Brian Pillman there. On top of I mean, Hogan is the biggest star in the industry, as far as I'm concerned, at this point. Say what you want about his matches or the storylines with Macho Man and Luger. Luger, too. And then ECW, you got what? You got your ECW guys. You got Sandman, Mick Foley, Tommy Dreamer, Raven. A lot of these guys are really just starting to build who they would be, too, which is another thing. I think if I do this in 96, 97, ECW might get a higher grade on that. Yeah. No, I think WCW probably had the most well-rounded roster. And the highest of highs in terms of like Hogan and Macho Man. I think WCW had the best roster, man. That's what we're gonna say. That's what we're gonna say. Wrestler of the year. Bret Hart comes to mind. And this is taking into account, what they did in the ring, what they did in their promos, the storylines that they were in. just their general appeal all across the board. Yeah, no, that's a good point, Freds. They had like your Hakushis, even Dean Douglas to an extent. Like they had guys that were good. They just didn't push them. Even like PCO was there. It's like, well, I don't know. Owen Hart too. Yeah, of course. But Wrestler of the Year. So Bret Hart comes to mind. Shawn Michaels comes to mind. Trying to think of anybody in WCW I would consider for this. Maybe Macho Man. Hack Myers. He was a workhorse, man. Hack Myers was on every goddamn ECW show. It's definitely a candidate. Definitely top 10, at least. Yeah, I think... See, Hogan was just so bad at everything. Like, he had the star power. People cared about his matches. He's just so... Everything was so bad. His character, everything. Flair was kind of just... It felt like he was kind of phoning it in to an extent. Just another Horseman storyline. He spent a lot of the year not there, too. Well, not a lot of the year. I guess only like a month or two. Cactus Jack is actually a good shout. Is great promo work. Some of the best promos of all time were by Cactus Jack in ECW in 1995. However, I don't know if that necessarily translated to good matches. I might go... I think it's a WWF answer. To me, it's either Bret or Shawn. So what, Shawn, he had the ladder match with Razor. The WrestleMania match with Diesel, which is a shining star on a meadow of horseshit. He had the match with Jarrett at In Your House 2. Plus, you got to consider all the stuff he did on Raws and stuff. Turned babyface, was building his character, was a pretty intriguing character at the time. Bret's Bret, though. He made chicken salad out of chicken shit. Out of chicken shit. I said it before, you know. His matches with Diesel were great. Bret's were. Has match with Haku. Unfortunately, though, Bret Hart just felt like he was fucking around with Jerry the King Lawler and Isaac Yankem for the majority of the year. He was great. Unfortunately, I don't think he was put in spots to allow him to be the star that he was. Same could be said for The Undertaker. Like, Undertaker spent the whole year just dicking around with the $1 million corporation. Bret was fighting a pirate that stole his jacket. Jerry Lawler, there was a match with Jerry Lawler in a shark cage. Like, just stupid stuff. I might give it to Shawn here, just based on his booking, his matches, and where he was going. So there's going to be a lot of angry Canadians at that. But I think in 95 it's true. 96 might be a different story. Although Bret's not there for a lot of 96. But we'll see. That's for another day. Worst wrestler of the year. Is it Hogan? Like Hulk Hogan. Who's in the running for this? There's a lot of guys that are running through my mind, but they only had like a few matches here or there, like Avalanche, aka Earthquake, aka Shark. But he was mainly, you know, amongst the Dungeon of Doom. So it's kind of harmless in that aspect. Dave Sullivan, I think he finally started to fade away in 95. Kevin Sullivan, kind of the same. Dungeon of Doom. They didn't have like a lot of matches, you know? Like, not significant ones. Craig Pittman. Again, he's like, kind of fades away at some point, thankfully. Should I just give it to the entire Dungeon of Doom? I'm very tempted to say Hulk Hogan. You know what, man? Because he's Hulk Hogan. He jumps to WCW. All this attention that's put on him, that's put on WCW, he just bungles it. Like, everything he does, the stuff with the Dungeon of Doom, the stuff with Vader was forgettable at best. What else did he do, man? Stuff with Luger, like, and Flair. I think when you take into account the significance of him and the stuff that he was doing versus the quality. But again, people cared about his matches. People were into Hogan. But actually, you know what? They were starting to fade away. He was starting to get stale, hence the NWO and all that. Jim Duggan. I don't think Jim Duggan won any championships in 1995. So I think he was fairly hidden for the most part. Although Renegade now. Ooh. Renegade. The Hulk Hogan ripoff. He beat Arn Anderson for the US title or the TV title, one of those championships. But he kind of starts to, again, another guy that kind of started to fade away as the year went on. But he did spend a lot of time with Hogan and Macho Man. I don't know if Duggan won I think that was 94 when he won the title. I could be wrong on that, though. I still might say, I think it's WCW either way. So, I almost want to. I think it's a tie. How about that? Is that cheating? I don't care. It's my game. Either way, WCW, I think, gets that. Unfortunately. Like, who was the worst in WWF, honestly? Mabel? Mabel's a strong contender, too, though. I liked his character, though. I liked the Mabel character. I think for his capabilities, I think he at least met expectations. So that's my criteria. That's how I kind of justify giving it to Hogan or Renegade. But Mabel would be bottom 5 probably. Characters, promos, storylines. So we're talking about I guess maybe I could change this to character, storyline. They're kind of the same, but we'll talk through it. So we're not looking at in-ring. We're not talking about the matches. We're talking about all of the out of the ring stuff. The promos, the backstage promos, the in-ring promos, the dialogues, the monologues, the storylines, the factions. The gimmicks. Dungeon of Doom comes to mind. Is that a gimme? Worst? Let's start with worst. You know what? No. I'm just gonna type that for now. Well, let's start on a high note, actually. Best overall. Gimmicks, promos, storylines. Gimmicks is probably a better. I guess I can have both. Just gonna out of ring. There we go. Best overall. Who had the best? Undertaker. In terms of WWF, you had The Undertaker. Not a ton else, though. It's some really bad gimmicks. Isaac Yankem. Mantar. Duke the Dumpster Droese. I mean, the list goes on, right? WCW. You have Hogan just doing Hogan things. You got Macho Man doing Macho Man things. You have the whole storyline with like Macho Man and Sting and Lex Luger. They're friends, but then Luger comes in. He jumps from WWF, and then Macho Man and Hogan are like, "Oh, we can't trust him." And Sting's like, "No, he's my friend." And it's like, it's fine. Like conceptually, that's fine. I think. Cactus Jack and ECW, I think, is a strong contender for best. I'm gonna type that for now, just so I don't forget. ECW had some pretty good promos, man. Steve Austin's there. This is when all the Steve Austin stuff happens as well. The stuff with Dreamer and Raven. Stuff with Mikey Whipwreck, there's some good stuff there. Taz making his evolution. Linking up with Bill Alfonso and all the stuff Bill Alfonso's doing. And you got Beulah McGillicuddy's there. And is ECW the best? Out of the ring stuff? Storylines? Promos? Yeah, Kane Dewey was 95. Yep. I think ECW might get it. I almost want to, like, hide these just so I'm not influenced by it. Cocksucker. There you go. I think ECW had the best. Character storyline. Again, Jack. Cactus Jack might be the best. Who's second? Not Undertaker. Undertaker's, he got his urn melted by the Godfather. Godfather took his urn and melted it, and he's wearing it as a necklace, and he spends the whole goddamn year chasing him. Diesel has an interesting turn at the end of the year, but most of the year he's just Diesel. I think my Cactus Jack, wins it. WCW, like all the Hogan, like all the stuff I talked about with Hogan and Luger and Macho Man and the Horseman stuff. Yeah, I think ECW gets it. And I think Cactus Jack wins it overall. Dungeon of Doom. Like, it's got to be Dungeon of Doom. Right? Kevin Sullivan, Dave Sullivan, The Shark, Brutus Beefcake, the Yeti. All the just mindless, stupid promo. It's gotta be Dungeon of Doom, man. Unless anybody can sway me, but I don't think you can. So the last part. Excitement going in to 1996. So again, I mentioned this at the beginning. We're not taking into account the future stuff. We're not factoring in the NWO or Austin 316 or any of that stuff, right? We're purely basing this off of what happened in 1995 and basically the state of the company. Like how good are they? How's their momentum at the end of 95? I think that's probably a better way to put it. How's their momentum at the end of 95? And with WWF, Diesel's heel, turns on Brett. Brett's the champion. It's good. Shawn is, having the run of his career, the boyhood dream coming true. Like, that all starts with him, passing out. The little segment where he faints after he returns and the whole concussion stuff. Is he going to have to retire? Like, all that stuff. You got like Vader coming in to WWF, but that doesn't happen until early '96. So, and WCW, like as of the end of '95, it's just like copy paste, same old shit, right? Same old Sting shit, same old Hogan, same old Macho Man, same old. The Blue Bloods, the tag team divisions eviscerated. You have the Cruiserweights, but they don't have the title yet. And like WCW ends with that weird New Japan co-branded show. I think WWF wins this, man. ECW has some good stuff. That's another kind of deal where it's like feels like the same 5 guys just wrestling each other over and over again. But they get cooking. They get cooking eventually, but I don't know if they're quite there yet. So I might have to give that to WWF. So now, the question is, who won 1995? WWF, WCW, or ECW? With the pay-per-view quality in mind, in-ring performance, the roster, the star power, the gimmicks, the promos, the momentum. Which company won 1995? Well, I'll tell you. Or will I? Oh, the suspense. Woo-hoo! Barely edging out ECW. The World Wrestling Federation won the year of 1995, which is actually insane considering the fact that you look at this tier list, look at all those Fs. they had the monopoly. They monopolized the F category, WWF, but they had a lot of other good stuff. They also had they were tied for the most Bs as well. So not consistent. Definitely the least consistent company was WWF. But I don't make the... Well, I did make the rules, actually. I actually very much made the rules. But it is what it is. It's set in stone. Vince McMahon, Papa Vince, dominates as usual. So, yeah, that was fun. Let me know. Let me know if you guys want me to continue this whenever I finish 1996, or maybe with other stuff I cover, like TNA, Ring of Honor. Maybe we can kind of do a version of this. I thought maybe for like TNA, ranking like the wrestlers like on the TNA roster, or stuff like that, or Ring of Honor, same thing. But I don't know, just kind of bouncing ideas, but we'll see. But I had a good time. I hope you did. I think that's about all I got for you. And hey, if you made it this far and you haven't checked out my podcast, I'd be shocked, first of all. But go check out the Apron Bump podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, and right here on YouTube as well. Hey, if you're listening, you're watching, why don't you throw a little like ski? Throw your boy a like on this video, subscribe. Comments too, always helpful. Let me know if you disagree with anything, agree with anything, or I don't know. Just give me your Chipotle order. Whatever it is, it helps with algorithm, etc. and stuff like that. So yeah, apronbump.com. Check out all my full episodes. Like I said, I covered each of these shows, some with people in the chat. Covered each of these shows in great detail, and it's always a good time. So do that, the Apron Bump podcast, and I think that's all I got for you guys today. I love you. I'll leave you. It's been a good time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, for watching, for listening, for pulling your pud, maybe. I know I was. Do I have an ending screen? Yeah, I do. Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm hard.
Yeah. And the hardest talk around and disregard.